I make the point at the outset that we haven't the time anymore to waste in arguing with climate change deniers. We have got more important things now to do with urgency. I hope this Assembly will support the main motion today and the Government amendment reflecting the reality of the climate emergency that we face, but also the commitment and willingness of the Welsh Government to act. But my purpose in speaking today is to make clear that this carries significant implications, not just for Welsh Government, but for all of us individually. We will need to do more, much more. We'll have to make truly difficult choices which follow the evidence, do the right thing for the long-term future of our planet, as well as for this and future generations, but which in the short term will be challenging politically and individually. It will take brave national leadership to make the changes we and the planet need, because they will affect the way in which we and our electorate will live and work, how we travel, how we take our holidays, what we buy, what we eat, and more. They will affect the way that we as government prioritise investment, we regulate and legislate to modify behaviour and consumption and lifestyle. So be under no illusion, some of the further measures we will need to take to meet the climate change emergency will be unpopular. Ministers will need to be brave, but we as Assembly members and as political parties, if we agree deep down with the activists and the campaigners and the motion today, we'll need to park the politics and build a consensus for action that will meet the urgency and the scale of the challenge. The same leadership and spirit of political consensus that allowed Labour to bring forward the first ever Climate Change Act, or to develop here the Wellbeing and Future Generations Act in Wales. This will need to be harnessed if we are truly serious about this. I was once invited into Number 10 as an Environment Minister to explain a particularly difficult decision I'd made, which was absolutely the right decision, but was deeply unpopular with a handful of colleagues and their constituents. I explained to the gathered special advisers in Number 10 how and why the decision was taken and how and why it was the right decision. The special advisers listened diligently. They quizzed me intelligently as I summed up that there was indeed an easy decision and there was the more difficult, evidence-based, long-term thinking right decision I had made. The advisers mulled this over and came to me with a conclusion. They would support me fully. They agreed I'd made the right decision, difficult as it was. And as I left the room, the senior adviser turned and whispered to me, "Next time, Hugh, make the easy decision." Well, ministers, colleagues here in the chamber, here on we'll have to take many more of the difficult but right decisions and build a consensus here in this chamber and outside with the public too about the benefits which flow from the right decisions on tackling climate change and global warming, on reversing biodiversity and habitat loss, on creating truly sustainable, healthier communities and lifestyles in every single part of Wales. And I am delighted that the Minister for the Environment, Energy and Rural Affairs has signalled that she'll be examining with her officials, even in the light of the Low Carbon Wales Plan and its 100 policies and proposals, how we can go further and faster to decarbonise. Now, I welcome that because whilst Wales is indeed showing leadership, it's committed to 80% reductions in net carbon emissions by 2050, we all know in our heart of hearts and in our heads that the actions that we've agreed nationally, but also internationally, are not sufficient to the day. Stern warned, the Climate Change Committee repeatedly warned and warns. The international scientific consensus, so spurned by those who would happily burn the planet to the ground now and trash the futures of our children and grandchildren, all warn repeatedly that we must act decisively and early because the costs of doing so will be lower. Conversely, the cost of not doing so will be huge and could be terminal for our prospects on this planet. So we'll need to go further. And we take some tough decisions, supporting low-cost energy generation and demand reduction options like onshore wind as well as offshore, ramping up energy efficiency in homes and residential buildings, planting trees at an unprecedented rate, a step change in reducing and reusing and recycling waste, creating sustainable communities and transportations which make it easy and affordable and desirable and commonplace for people to travel far and near by public transport and walking and cycling, making the combustion engine extinct instead of species and habitats, changing what we eat and how much we eat, how we manage the land for public good, including climate adaptation and modification, how we produce our food, how we fly less. In all areas of policy and in integrated policy across government, we need to move beyond voluntary measures and beyond incremental improvements towards step change and more direction. So let those of us in Wales who genuinely believe we are in a climate emergency work together to forge a new consensus, take the necessary actions to save the planet and, in so doing, save ourselves and our children too. Let's agree to make the right but difficult decisions, the brave decisions for this and future generations, and for this and only precious planet, which we share with many other species for just a short moment in time. This is not our planet to trash or burn. We don't own it. We're just passing through. So let us tread lightly as we go.
Minister for Environment, Energy and Rural Affairs, Lesley Griffiths.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. I welcome the opportunity